Now let us move to the final stanza. And sorry students, I have splitted the final part into two videos. That way actually I would be able to keep the size of the files manageable. Now this final stanza is an address to the poet's sister Dorothy. Dorothy was born in 1771 and her brother William the year before, that is in 1770. She played a significant role in the poet's life as a silent listener, friend, inspirer, and traveling partner. Naturally, the company of Dorothy makes this second visit more memorable, and the poet attempts to guide his sister, who would definitely share the poet's mature and sober pleasure when she herself gains her maturity. Okay, here we go. Nor perchance, if I were not thus taught, should I the more suffer my genial spirits to decay. For thou art with me here upon the banks of this fair river, thou my dearest friend, my dear, dear friend, and in thy voice I catch the language of my former heart, and read my former pleasures in the shooting lights of thy wild eyes. The poet says that without the help or guidance of nature he might have lost his spontaneously joyful spirit. But nature is our poet's guide, and he also has Dorothy as his friend. Hence, the present moment becomes very special for our poet. He addresses Dorothy as my dearest friend or my dear, dear friend. Now, we all know that our poet is aware of his sense of loss because he can no longer enjoy nature as he used to in his early youth. Hence, the poet believes that Dorothy, who is still in his early youth, can actually help the poet remember his former pleasures, as Dorothy's pleasure in nature is still pure, carefree, and intense. Next. O yet a little while may I behold in thee what I was once, my dear, dear sister, and this prayer I make, knowing that nature never did betray the heart that loved her. 'Tis her privilege, through all the years of this our life, to lead from joy to joy, for she can so inform the mind that is within us, so impress with quietness and beauty, and so feed with lofty thoughts, that neither evil tongues, rash judgments, nor the sneers of selfish men, nor greetings where no kindness is, nor all the dreary intercourse of daily life shall ever prevail against us, or disturb our cheerful faith, that all which we behold is full of blessings. Well, here actually the poet talks about a kind of moral lesson which he wants Dorothy to learn from nature. The poet also makes a bold and emphatic assertion that nature never did betray the heart that loved her. This climactic declaration comes from the poet's own faith. He actually believes that nature has the privilege of leading her follower or disciple from joy to joy. The mystic poet further claims that nature also has an ennobling and purifying effect on our mind, and with this purifying effect, nature actually help us overcome the troubles and heartache that an adult suffers from. Nature empowers our mind with lofty thoughts and a peaceful composure, and thus we become immune to evil tongues or rash judgments or the sneers of selfish men or greetings without kindness or the dreary intercourse of daily life. And we also start to believe that what we behold is full of blessings. Next, therefore let the moon shine on thee in thy solitary walk, and let the misty mountain winds be free to blow against thee. And in after years, when these wild ecstasies shall be matured into a sober pleasure, when thy mind shall be a mansion for all lovely forms, thy memory be as a dwelling place for all sweet sounds and harmonies, O then if solitude or fear or pain or grief should be thy portion, with what healing thoughts of tender joy wilt thou remember me, and these my exhortations. Well, here the poet gives Dorothy a piece of advice. She should come to nature with open mind and without any hesitation, and she should allow nature to be her guide. That way, her present wild ecstasies shall mature into a sober pleasure in future. Then her mind would be filled with sweet sensations and pleasant memories. And if solitude, fear, or pain, or grief, or any other troublesome thoughts come to her, she should always rely on the healing power of nature, and she should always remember his brother's advice. Next, nor perchance, if I should be where I no more can hear thy voice, nor catch from thy wild eyes these gleams of past existence, wilt thou then forget that on the banks of this delightful stream we stood together, and that I, so long a worshipper of nature, hither came unwearied in that service? Rather say with warmer love, or with far deeper zeal of holier love. Nor wilt thou then forget that after many wanderings, many years of absence, these steep woods and lofty cliffs, and this green pastoral landscape were to me more dear, both for themselves and for thy sake. This is the final prayer or request of the poet to his sister Dorothy. Wordsworth pleads with his sister to always remember that the woods and cliffs of the Wye Valley and the landscape were even more dear on his second visit in 1798 than on his first in 1793, for the mature pleasure which Wordsworth found in nature itself, and for the memory of former pleasures which his sister's wild eyes recalled to him. And the poet also earnestly requests Dorothy to keep this experience in mind, even in the poet's absence. He wants Dorothy to learn this lesson and put it to use in her personal life. Wordsworth thus found in nature a series of moral lessons. Every aspect of nature was a reminder of some latent spiritual significance. All indicated to him some divine plan or some ethical mode of human conduct. Now, to sum up, let me share with you the observations of Vishwanath Chatterjee, who in his book Four Romantic Poets writes, and I quote, Wordsworth is indeed the high priest of nature, but nature he worshipped not for her ordinary outward beauty, but for the soul that was in her. It is this that endowed nature with an extraordinary splendor, a splendor which Wordsworth could see but Blake could not. Their different attitudes to nature specially distinguish the poetry of Blake from that of Wordsworth in spite of the many points of similarity. Wordsworth had glimpses of the soul himself, and they enriched his life enormously. These were essentially mystical experiences. After this, he was no longer what he had been. There was a sea change in his life, and he became a transformed person altogether. Contentment and peace were in store for him. His own supernal happiness he wanted to share with all mankind, so he wanted to teach them the art of right living. End of quotation. Nature induces in Wordsworth a sense of inner illumination, and the poet can have an intuitive awareness of the ultimate meaning of life. This is the culmination of Wordsworth's mystic philosophy. When the poet is able to recognize the harmony that is in nature, and he is gifted with a vision that enables him to see into the life of things. Matthew Arnold also admits that Wordsworth feels the joy offered to us in nature with an extraordinary power. And again I conclude with the words of Vishwanath Chatterjee, and I quote, it is the deep power of nature's joy that disturbs us in Tintern Abbey with a purely transcendental feeling. End of quotation. Now, now for the university exam, we can consider the topics like theme of loss and recompense, and again the growth of the poet's mind. Well, now as you go through the poem, please let me know the problems you face. So thank you.